am 41 years old and I have never told anyone this out loud. My colleague asked me yesterday why I always eat lunch alone. She wasn't being mean about it. She's one of those people who genuinely notices things and then says them. No filter, no malice. She just looked at me across the break room and asked like it was a normal question. I told her I liked the quiet. She nodded and let it go. That wasn't the real answer. I've worked at the same architecture firm for 11 years. Senior drafter. I'm good at the job, reliable, and I get along with everyone well enough that no one would ever describe me as a problem. I have friends, real ones, people I've known since university who I meet for dinner a few times a year. I travel solo every autumn somewhere I've never been. Portugal last year, Japan the year before. I have a one-bedroom apartment I've spent a long time making feel like mine. By any reasonable measure, I built a functional life. What I didn't build was anything with another person. I'm not going to dress it up. I am 41 years old, and I have never had a relationship. Not a brief one, not a situationship, not even something that lasted long enough to get complicated. There was a window in my late 20s where I tried, genuinely tried, the apps, the setups through friends, saying yes to things I would have otherwise avoided. Nothing took. A few first dates, one second date that went nowhere, and then a long stretch of silence from that direction of life that eventually stopped feeling temporary. Somewhere around 35, I stopped calling it a rough patch. My colleague is 34. She's been divorced once, engaged once after that, currently single, and apparently fine with it in the way that people are fine with something they expect to change. She's warm and funny, and started joining me on my lunch walks about 2 months ago without asking, which I found I didn't mind. Last week, she told me she'd been thinking about me. She said it simply, no drama, said she'd noticed things. The way I paid attention when she talked, the fact that I remembered details she'd mentioned weeks earlier. She said she thought I was one of the more decent people she'd come across in a while, and she wanted to say that directly instead of waiting to see if I'd figure it out. I didn't know what to do, so I said something deflecting and stupid, and she called me on it immediately. Said she wasn't looking for a performance, just an honest response. So I gave her one. I told her the actual number. 41 years. 0 relationships. I watched her process it, the quick recalibration behind her eyes, the pause before she figured out what her face was supposed to do. She said, like none? Not even in college? Not even in college. She asked why, gently, like she actually wanted to understand rather than diagnose. I told her I wasn't entirely sure. I wasn't isolated. I wasn't broken in any obvious way. Something in that specific direction just never connected. And after enough years of that, you stop leaving the door open. Not out of bitterness, out of self-preservation. You get tired of wanting something that doesn't arrive, and eventually you renovate around the missing thing. You insulate it. You make the rest of your life full enough that the gap stops being the loudest thing in the room. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said that sounded incredibly lonely. I told her it used to be. Then it just became the shape of things. She asked if I ever thought about trying again. I told her the honest answer, which is that I don't know what trying looks like anymore. When you're 27 and it hasn't happened yet, you're still in the waiting room. When you're 41, you've been standing outside the building so long you're not sure you remember where the entrance is, or whether walking in would even make sense at this point. She didn't push. She didn't say what most people say, which is that it's not too late, which is technically true and also not the point. She just said she was glad I told her. We finished the walk. She went back to her desk. I sat at mine for a long time not doing anything useful. I don't know what she does with that information now. I don't know what I do with the fact that I said it out loud to another person for the first time in my life and the building didn't fall down. I'm still sitting here figuring out what that means.